Welcome to or back to the Suburban Sheepdog channel. Those of you that have been along for a while, you know that this is the place where we gather to discuss how to keep our family, our loved ones, our neighbors, even ourselves safe. And we're following up with a finale to our episodes where we're looking at how do we pick the best home defense gun. And what I had posited was that it's not that difficult, although there's a lot of choices. So what we do is we look for the gun that we shoot most comfortably. It fits us ergonomically, it weighs just right for us, it shoots where we point, all that good stuff. Second, it's because of the above, it's accurate. We shoot it accurately. And then third, it will stop the threat. So given that threefold criteria, we did these previous episodes where we went into the range, we allowed our couple to shoot the guns, and hey, you don't want to miss that, by the way. So go back and look for that. I'll link to it down below to that episode and the episode right after that. These are all related. There were three. This is the third. But what we want you to do is hang in here right now. Let's watch this one. Go back and watch if you want. Subscribe, and then you won't miss anything. So what we did is after the range, we came out and we did a debrief. And so we're going to let that roll here in a second. But what you see is completely unscripted, as was the range time. We didn't have any redos, and this is all unscripted. So what you hear is pretty much, reflective of how they felt about those guns and the choices they made. Let's let that roll right now. Okay, Chris, Jenny, thank you. This was a very valuable time together. I think.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think everybody learned something. I know I did. We've got some really good footage. What was it like to handle the 3 or 4 different guns?
I liked it. I'd never shot an AR, that type of rifle before, so I'd always wanted to. And it seemed pretty smooth. I wasn't used to sighting with those kind of sights. All I've ever really used is an iron sight. The red dots, the optics. Yeah.
I love the AR.
And if I remember right, you shot the AR-15, the 5.56. That's all my talk. You shot that. You also shot an AR platform PCC, pistol caliber carbine, chambered in 9mm. And which of those two ARs, both of you can answer, which did you like more?
I like the 9mm better.
The PCC?
Yeah.
Okay. Which weapon did you feel that you shot the most accurately?
The 9mm one, probably.
The 9mm, the PCC, right?
Yeah, probably.
Jenny?
Actually, I thought mine was more accurate with the AR-15, wasn't it? I thought
No.
It wasn't?
No.
It was with the PCC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, with the PCC.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so recoil is an issue with any firearm. Some were heavy recoil, some were low recoil. Talk about, Jenny, we'll do you first. Talk about your experience with recoil with the PCC, AR, and then your pistol.
The recoil is definitely best with the PCC.
Okay.
I didn't feel hardly any impact at all. It was real smooth. It was great. Right. And my revolver has a lot of recoil.
Yeah, it was a little bit hard to handle, wasn't it? Yeah. It's a small gun, powerful round. Chris, same question. So you shot both ARs and one pistol and the shotgun.
Yeah, well, as far as recoil goes, the same one she said is the smoothest.
PCC? Yeah.
PCC, 9mm. And of course, the shotgun has the most.
Right. What about the AR-15 with the typical 5.56? It's the longer cased bullet.
Yeah, you can feel a little more kick, but I was still comfortable.
Pretty happy with it. Okay.
Yeah.
Super. We didn't get to do this, just time constraints and whatnot. But if you imagine yourself in your home, maybe having to defend territory, there's going to be a whole video on this. That your best bet is to stay put, call the police, and defend, like I call your bunker, right, your bedroom or whatever. But if you had guests or if you had your kids in or something like that, and you had to go rescue somebody, and you had to go through your house with one of those guns, which one would you have wanted in your hand?
The PCC.
The PCC.
Definitely.
You really like that PCC. Okay, so just any final comments that you have that you'd like to tell our audience, just final thoughts, just things that you thought were remarkable.
Anything come to mind?
I think it's really valuable to practice, and I liked that you did that. Like, it was just a little bit of pressure, but
Yeah.
I think it's important to do that.
It changes the dynamic, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, me too, because I don't shoot very often, so I'm always a little nervous when I
Right.
first get out there.
Right.
Yeah, I do think I kind of choked with the shotgun because I had shot the other rifles semi-automatic previously, so I was
Programmed.
I was forgetting to do things when I brought it up. Like the first time I shot it, I forgot to pump, and then the second time when I brought it up, I pumped, and then I forgot to take the safety off when the target was coming.
Right, exactly. And again, pressure does that to us. Okay, that buzzer, I call that the delete button, because when it goes off, all my plans just seem to go boom, right, under pressure. And that's why we introduced that pressure, to give you some semblance. Now, in a home invasion, a shootout, it's going to be 100 times that, but we simulated some pressure and how it affects our gun handling skills and the way we think. So that was very valuable part of this lesson for sure. We're going to have some forms for you to complete. Basically, we're going to get you to score on a sheet of paper, basically the things that we just talked about. And then I'm going to tally those, and again, that's going to end up being a part of the final production. Okay, well, hey, thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time, and just really everything that you did for us. This was fantastic.
Thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
Supportive.
We appreciate it.
Right.
So what did you think? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? And again, that was unscripted. It was very real. And that's how they felt about those guns. So it's important to realize that above all, adrenaline did end up playing a really big factor in their choices of guns. They actually didn't work their own guns as well as they worked the ones that I brought that were a little simpler to manipulate, weren't quite as loud, didn't have as much recoil. So there's a lot of lessons there. But everybody's going to make their own choices. That's what this is all about. We want the operator and the gun to choose each other. As I say, fall in love with each other. And that's what happened. And the PCC, it ended up being the gun that they fell in love with. Now, the Glock, it came in a close second, as did the AR. The AR was tied, right? And you're going to see that in the grid. Oh, by the way, yeah, let's get to the grid. You'll see how this all fell out numerically. They scored this right after the interview. And then I put it together just for you. Let's let it roll. Okay, so we're looking at how Chris scored these guns numerically, aka the grid. We're using a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best possible score. I do want to mention that I've adapted a grid put together by John Lovell by adding my own rows and columns to some of the existing columns and rows that he had. This is kind of tailored for our purposes. Now, I want to make an overarching statement before I do anything else, and that is that each of these guns in the hands of somebody capable with them in the context that they intend to use them is their go-to gun. There's not a perfect gun or a universal gun where I say, okay, you need to shoot a shotgun, you need to shoot a Glock, etc. For Chris, that was the ARs and the Glock. And if you've seen the other videos, and I want you to go back and look at them if you haven't, you'll see exactly why that was. But here it is numerically. And these numbers, these agree with what we saw on the range in the videos, and it's also consistent with the scoring that we did on paper. But I do want to point one thing out. I gave some really high marks, 10 out of 10 for the ARs when it came to ammo capacity. Why? Because they're 30 round magazines. And remember, I can only have too much ammo if I'm on fire or if I'm drowning. Other than that, I want more ammo. So that's why they got the high scores there. The rest of this is intuitive. If you look at it, it'll make sense. All right, so let's keep moving. We've got a score of 60 by way of a total for the PCC 9mm. Look at this, a tie, a dead tie between the AR and the Glock. Chris ended up liking these guns equally, but not so much the shotgun. This is his own gun, but it didn't work real well for him under the circumstances of stress, the moving target. There were some difficulties with manipulating the safety, remembering to take it off, and manipulating the pump function of the gun, and that left him with essentially either a gun that didn't shoot or a one-shot shotgun. He gave it a low score.
I did too. We're going to say a little bit more about the shotgun when we get to Jenny. Let's move on. Let's see how she scored these as well. Okay, so we're looking at Jenny's scores for the same guns using the same criteria. Let's just point out a couple things though. Remember, the ARs were her favorite guns. She said, what? I love the AR. And there's a reason for that, and it's all found right here. Anyway, here are the subtotals, the totals. What's significant is that the 9mm PCC, again, was the walk-away winner. What also is significant is she gave the Glock and the AR-15, chambered in 5.56, she gave them the same score. Even though the numbers were arrived at differently, it's the same ultimate score. So both of them scored, the Glock and the AR-15, dead even though they weren't talking to each other. None of this has been gamed. It's very spontaneous. Now remember, she didn't shoot her revolver well. Her scores reflect that, as do mine. Hey guys, and I mean guys, not generically, but really guys, if you have a lady in the house and she's a part of your defense plan, if she will not shoot the shotgun because of the recoil, the noise, the size, any of that sort of thing, you've got to rethink your strategy. She needs her own gun, or she's not a part of the defensive team. If she doesn't shoot this, doesn't practice with it, it's going to be a disaster. Don't let that happen. Okay, so that's the grid. Let's move on. Let's give it a good wrap.
Okay, so there it was numerically, the grid, the shooter's experience, and the footage and the scoring of the targets. It all came together. It all agreed. They picked the same guns. So that was pretty worthwhile in terms of an experiment, and it played out pretty much how I'd thought and how I'd hoped. I wasn't sure, but it did. It played out just like I thought. So there are more episodes to follow. We've wrapped up this entire series on picking the best home defense gun. In fact, really, you can apply these principles to any gun that you pick for personal defense. But what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about going to the range, to the gun shop. We're going to get the staff's insights. I've got some ideas as well, but we're going to help you pick that first gun out and what to expect by way of the entire experience. It's going to be very worthwhile. Again, subscribe. Make sure you don't miss these. Hit your notification button. And hey, by the way, these cost a little bit to put together, a lot of time, effort. We've got travel time for the producer and whatnot. He's coming up actually out of Florida for this. So there's a lot that goes into this. We'd appreciate a little bit of wind in our sails. Go down, hit my Patreon page, and think about maybe contributing if you'd like to see more of these. So off to the gun range, that is the gun shop, to go ahead and make that first purchase. Great to have you along. Thanks very much. Stay safe. God bless.